Second round, things could be better.
Pay close
Hustle, why China's billionaires keep disappearing.
attention to these clips.
I love that Comrade Winston just sent me like CNBC cutting like anti-China propaganda, which we will probably receive as pro-China propaganda with a hustle. I love that. I love looking at stuff that like mainstream media in America considers to be like terrifying and just getting an entirely different message out of it. Let's watch.
China Renaissance plunging overnight in Hong Kong after that company said that its chairman and CEO is missing.
But since giving this speech that was critical of China's government, Jack Ma hasn't been seen in public, and now many are questioning, where is Jack Ma?
He is being punished for speaking his mind. Ren disappeared last month. Now China says he's under investigation. He's accused of quote-unquote serious violations of discipline and law.
Notice a pattern? Billionaires in China keep disappearing. The latest addition to the list is Bao Fan, a renowned investment banker who went missing in February. However, a few days later, his company said he was cooperating in an investigation being carried out by certain authorities in the People's Republic of China.
When someone like Bao Fan disappears, someone that high profile who suddenly vanishes without explanation, that inevitably sends a chilling feel through the rest of the market. How can you...
I think the funniest thing is looking at this and going, wow, I can't believe that billionaires are not above the law. Like, the only reason why you feel this way, is because you are so used to living in the United States of America where, like, there's nothing. The government has nothing to do. Like, they can't do a single thing to fucking billionaires. Like, how do you cut an argument to be like, dude, it's really fucked up that, like, major business owners are being held criminally liable for certain actions that they're engaging in? I know that no matter what happens, they will cut this as like, oh, their biggest crime? Speaking out against the party. But like, no. The entire purpose is every business, including businesses in China, are engaging in illicit affairs. The Chinese government picks and chooses winners and decides who gets to continue doing illicit affairs and what kind of illicit affairs they get to keep doing. And because every business keeps doing illicit affairs, if you speak out against the Communist Party, they will come after you. Or, like, for example, when the Communist Party comes to you and says, please make a charitable donation for, and this is the word that they utilize, it's going to be lost in translation a little bit, Chinese prosperity. That's the concept. And the guy says, no, well, guess what? Oops, sorry, we're going to conduct an investigation into, your businesses and your business practices. So that's the point. Yeah, it's a mandatory donation that is done at the behest of Chinese prosperity. Okay? That's what it's called.
You feel like
it's a tax.
Business in a place where an important leader of industry can suddenly disappear.
We've seen a string of disappearances of high-profile business figures going back literally years. It seems like we can't go too long without another high-profile figure being disappeared.
No, you're wrong about this. No, Chinese prosperity is not code for money for Xi Jinping. That part I will push back on. People saying, oh, that's a bribe, you're wrong. Straight up. It's not. It's literally fundamentally and functionally a tax. That's it. The only difference is it's not in the books. The money absolutely goes to government programs. The money absolutely goes to like poverty programs that are that pertain to social safety nets, things like that. Billionaire donations soar in China. Push for common prosperity. That's what they call it. That's the take. It's called common prosperity, and it's not done. This is a way to like basically do the same thing that the government is doing, but doing it through both the government and also through government set up philanthropic organizations. It's effectively a tax, and it is absolutely done without. It's absolutely done without. What do you call it? Like, it's not done at the same percentage to every single person. They just like they will go after individuals regularly. You know what I mean? How do you know this? Bitch, I read. What do you mean? That's how I know this, because I read with my eyes. Anyway, let's continue.
China has 969 billionaires. That makes it home to the highest number of billionaires by country. China, a communist country, dethroned the US, a capitalist country, from the list in 2016. Xi Jinping's nation remains poised to overtake the US as the world's largest economy.
The main reason why China has so many billionaires is that in the era of opening and reform and the economic miracle that ensued over the past decades, China's market has brought great opportunities to smart entrepreneurs that really made best use of all the new fields of technology and economic engagement opening up. But not just with China's domestic market, but also, of course, internationally.
For most of the 20th century, China was one of the world's poorest countries. After World War II ended, a civil war broke out between the Chinese Communist Party and the Nationalist Party, or Kuomintang. The Communist Party's victory marked the rise of Mao Zedong, who declared the creation of the People's Republic of China on October 1st, 1949. During the 1950s...
And America was like, no, actually, we decided that Chiang Kai-shek had some good ideas. We decided that Taiwan is actually real China. I said loser island. Getting big tanky vibes from this Mao guy. I mean, listen, America was so open about their engagements supporting the loser nationalist side. Okay? Supporting the loser nationalist side, that even the fucking New York Times' coverage reflected that reality. And of course, based Maoist third world as Richard Nixon changed everything, because let's be real.
Plan dubbed the Great Leap Forward to improve the country's economy. The key features of this plan included forced agricultural collectivization and rural industrialization. The plan backfired, triggering one of the largest famines in human history. China's fate changed after Deng Xiaoping became the de facto leader of China in 1978.
Of a fresh flow.
So if you look at the policies under...
It's so odd that when countries don't collectivize through chattel slavery and 400 years of like colonial bloodshed, they always end up having similar issues that surround, famine. It's odd. But of course, there's never any care or consideration for the material conditions leading up to the situation. And it's always a matter of, just remember, one question you should always ask people is, how? What did the material conditions look like in a country before any kind of communist revolution? Just always ask that. Cuban Revolution. What did it look like before the Cuban Revolution? What was going on in Cuba? Because American imperialist historians that want to hyper-focus on what they consider to be the failure of systems due to their own ideological lack of imagination will routinely refuse to take a look at what came before genuinely held, principled emancipation movements that, of course, some of you now know as communist revolutions, socialist revolutions. What happened? What did things look like? Did we go from having one apple to half an apple? Or did we go from having no apples to some apples? What did it look like? And also, you don't need to know too much about American history to know that they will always side with the other side, the anti-communist side. And I think you guys at least know from World War II history that the anti-communist side is the nationalist side. Anyway,
Under Deng Xiaoping, that was an era of kind of policy experimentation, particularly with this idea of the free market. Deng came into power after, a long period of time in China when the economy was very much state-driven. Resources were centrally allocated. But under Deng Xiaoping, there was a movement towards letting the market play a greater role in resource allocation. And this allowed entrepreneurship to flourish. It allowed China to cultivate commercial opportunities with the rest of the world, which really brought a lot of development and wealth and prosperity to the country.
He famously said, let some people become rich first, and then those who become rich first would trickle down and get the rest of the Chinese people becoming rich.
When President Xi came to power in 2012, he was still friendly to the entrepreneur class in China because he understood the private sector was the engine of the Chinese economy.
Xi slowly started showing his true feeling toward billionaire entrepreneurs. In 2015, Guo Guangchang, who's known as China's Warren Buffett, went missing. The company later said he was assisting authorities with an investigation.
According to a source, he was spirited out of that hotel.
In 2017, Xiao Jianhua, a Chinese-Canadian billionaire, was abducted by Chinese security agents from Hong Kong. In 2022, he was sentenced to 13 years in prison for fraud and corruption. In 2020, billionaire real estate tycoon Ren Zhicheng disappeared after he called President Xi a clown in an essay over his handling of the pandemic. The same year, he was sentenced to 18 years in prison.
What did he say? What did I miss? Well, I don't get it.
Engine of the Chinese economy.
Xi slowly started showing his true feeling toward billionaire entrepreneurs. In 2015,
the reason why I'm not trickle-down economics. Yeah, you want to know why trickle-down economics is real in the way that they fucking perceive it in China, and it's not real in America? Because trickle-down economics in that circumstance basically implies social safety nets. Okay, yeah. It trickled down because the government handles all matter of foreign capital coming into the country and how you distribute that fucking foreign capital. That's the reason. It's not trickle-down economics. It's just central planning. There is no concept as trickle-down economics under a capitalist organization of the economy. All matter of improvements that occurred in China since Deng have come because the Chinese government has tried to evenly, as best as they can, make rural areas urbanize and modernize as big of a landmass as they possibly can.
Do I like the socialist streamer Hasan? Yeah. He's handsome. If I was a lady, I'd let him fuck me. Probably for free. And then, I'd send him a message maybe a week after. I had a good time, smile. And then I'll do an Insta story or some shit about it. Here I am at Dubai with my new boyfriend at Hasan or some shit. Yeah, you jealous? Ooh. Weird RP. Dude, we're in an RP mood, guys.
I mean, you can do that anyway, Moon. You know what I mean? They are still authoritarian, which you should denounce more. Undemocratic, but positive motives. Hope this gets read. All governments are inherently authoritarian. All matter of governance is inherently authoritarian. It's just who gets to be on the receiving end of that authoritarianism, which you have an issue with. I am a status, for the record. Anyway. 420 blaze it. You really don't have to defend Mao's decisions that led to the Great Leap Forward famine. No, I mean, this happened under in a similar perspective under Stalin as well. I know a lot of people will hyper-emphasize kulaks and refusing to cooperate with the central planning authorities, but there was plenty of issues with the central planning itself. 100%. This is not this is not me shitting on the concept in general. But yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of issues that come along with things like that. But what I mentioned as far as collectivizing over an incredibly short period of time without, without chattel slavery and and monarchies behaving in an imperialist fashion, it's going to be very, very different. It's going to look very different, and it's going to have, you know, a lot of major mistakes, like gigantic mistakes. Yeah, I mean, capitalist nations have had gigantic famines. India, Ireland, millions dead in the same way, and actually, it's even worse because like India and Ireland's famines are directly caused by another nation that controls it. You know what I mean? It's done to basically starve out a population to punish them or to feed another country. Like those were straight up not miscalculations, but directly done. Anyway, like ultimately, I like there are plenty of awful things that, for example, Stalin did, right? Like not great. Kind of a manlet, okay? Had a lot of manlet energy. Let's be real. There were plenty of cool things he did, like killing Nazis, robbing banks, and the like. And then a lot of manlet energy came afterwards. What we should do is look to these mistakes, learn from them, and craft better strategies. Gulags are generally not a good thing. Yeah, I mean, I'm against the gulag system that we have here in the United States of America. Don't disrespect Stalin like that. I mean, he was a manlet. And he did some photoshopping. And I'm not even talking about that one guy. I mean, like, I think he used to routinely try and make himself look closer to Lenin in photos. Wasn't that? There's a lot of like weird things that Stalin did on top of like awful things that he did too. He would like cover up his blemishes. Anyway, let's continue. Let's watch this.
Juan Chong, who's known as China's Warren Buffett, went missing. The company later said he was assisting authorities with an investigation.
According to a source, he was spirited out of that hotel.
In 2017, Xiao Jianhua, a Chinese-Canadian billionaire, was abducted by Chinese security agents from Hong Kong. In 2022, he was sentenced to 13 years in prison for fraud and corruption. In 2020, billionaire real estate tycoon Ren Zhicheng disappeared after he called President Xi a clown in an essay over his handling of the pandemic. The same year, he was sentenced to 18 years in prison on corruption charges. Well, these are just a few well-known names on the list. One name that grabbed the world's attention was the disappearance of Jack Ma, founder of Alibaba.
I mean, dude, you can't show this fucking video and be like, damn, it's really fucked up that Alibaba was disappeared. Like, are you crafting an argument on behalf of China? Like, what are you doing? Like, why did you, like, whose takeaway is going to be, oh no, that's really fucked up? Like, you could have shown any number of normal videos where he's like sitting at conferences talking, but instead you put this fucking video up, which leads a lot of people to go, yeah, actually, I kind of am siding with the Chinese government on this.
In 2020.
Well, I think it's probably several pieces to the rapid demise of Jack Ma. Clearly, one part of it was the growing strength of Alibaba, his company, and particularly Ant Financial, his financial services company. I think it was felt that it was becoming too powerful in terms of controlling the data of the Chinese people, information, and the lives of Chinese people. It was also clearly becoming a rival to big state enterprises and specifically the state-owned banking system. Jack Ma did.
Okay, I mean, great. Then I like that they did that. Wait, what? This is where I guess I deviate away from CNBC, where they're like, yeah, it's crazy. Like this private corporation had like mass surveillance powers, and the government didn't like that because like only they should do mass surveillance. And it's like, all right, yeah, okay. Like, why are you giving me wrong? His company was funded by the Chinese government in the first. Yeah, of course. There is no corporation that isn't like, there's a reason why every single one of these motherfuckers is in the party. Okay. They all get funding from the party. They all need that for advancement. And that there is no, it's all technically state owned. The distinction is this: America is not a real government. Okay? America is 5 companies in a trench coat. Okay? The United States of America, the government in the United States of America works at the behest of corporations. In China, corporations work at the behest of the government. That's the major difference. The final component is, or the final difference is that Chinese prosperity and that mentality, like national prosperity across the board, is what has led China to truly eviscerate extreme poverty. So much so that it has like global implications. That's it. It's literally higher levels of socialization and government control that has caused China to become what you see now, and not this like poverty-stricken, backwards third world country with natural resources ready to fucking exploit. That's it. Yeah, I'm saying the news is making it seem like free market capitalism is the reason why he was rivaling Chinese companies. Like they said, trickle-down economics liberated China. Yeah, who cares? It's fucking CNBC. Why are you getting triggered by listening to CNBC? Just your takeaway should be positive. Mine is, I watch this and I think, look how positive. Look how wonderful.
Did not help things by his sometimes brash, outspoken personality. He directly criticized the state-owned banking sector. He described them as having what he called a, quote, pawn shop mentality. And
yeah, except like you wouldn't exist without that. So what the fuck are you saying?
And that really ruffled a lot of feathers. So I think it was really a combination of things, real concern about the growth of Alibaba, it becoming a rival to the state-owned banking system, and also the brash character of Jack Ma rubbed a lot of regulators and very powerful people in China the wrong way.
Don't forget that the rise of Jack Ma actually has a lot to do with the Chinese Communist Party and the role of government, because before Alibaba went IPO, I believe it's 2014 at the New York Stock Exchange, the key money that he received was from China Investment Corporation, which is a China's sovereign wealth.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead. Tell me that's bad. Come on. You know what else? Okay, here's how this works in America. The government gives you unlimited funds. The government keeps your business afloat. The government tries to at least regulate the supply of the agricultural goods that you are producing. And then you can turn around and say, fuck you to the government and literally control prices. If any singular agricultural producer behaved this way in China, they would kill them. Okay? And now I'm no big city lawyer and I'm no fan of capital punishment. But I think in the United States of America, we would do better if we were moving the needle a little bit closer to the Chinese understanding of how to deal with billionaires and corporate consolidation. I mean, come on now. The California egg industry would not be looking the way it is if it was in China. There's almost an identical level of like funding, if not more funding, but there's no control that comes along with it. That's it. Do you understand? Do you get it? In America, we literally, with our tax dollars, subsidize agricultural production, and it keeps food prices relatively low. But at the end of the day, food producers, due to corporate consolidation and a lack of government interference, can actually turn around and increase their prices without any sort of legal scrutiny whatsoever. And they have done that. That's when you end up experiencing inflation, because inflation in and of itself is not this like magic wand. Inflation is when corporations deliberately raise their fucking prices. Okay? And they do that, and we can't do anything about it because our government doesn't do anything.
Was fun. Actually, so from that perspective, the common sense is that you don't bite the hand that feed you.
Ma, who's known for his grandiose public presence, has kept a low profile ever since the episode unfolded.
Co-founder Jack Ma has returned to mainland China.
He was recently spotted at the Yinggu School in Hangzhou, the city where Alibaba is headquartered.
Most of the last year in Japan.
Dramatic downfall of Jack Ma tells you is that, in China, no matter how rich you are, no matter how famous you are, if you run against the Communist Party, or even if you are perceived to be critical of the Communist Party, they can punish you.
No, I mean, that's like, okay, first of all, it's not just that. Like I mentioned already, every single company that works under the watchful guise of the Chinese government that has been created through investment by the Chinese government that is allowed to survive due to their allegiance to the government in one way or another, sometimes engage in illicit affairs. If you are turning around and claiming that that very same government that made you is actually bad when the government is operating at the behest of the citizens and advocating for more corporate consolidation, more corporate freedom from the government, then yeah, you're going to get punished for it. Do I think it's appropriate? Not really, but there are plenty of examples that they're not using here, like people that are selling fucking spoiled milk and shit, where the Chinese government does end up executing them, and even the government officials at the local level that have played along with this corruption. So it's not like they don't fucking yeet even members within the party. They do. Both the business owners are a part of the fucking party, and so are the goddamn regulators. And if the fucking regulators are also letting them get away with this kind of shit, they also get punished.
Because the country has no human rights, even for the very rich and famous.
Jack Ma's episode was also the start of the so-called tech crackdown in China, where regulators targeted tech giants like Tencent, Baidu, JD.com, ByteDance, Didi, and others. China experts like Dexter Roberts, author of The Myth of Chinese Capitalism, believe the Chinese Communist Party viewed these tech giants as too powerful and influential.
Yeah.
I've referred to the Xi Jinping era as party in command era, or the politics in command economic era. So Xi Jinping has made it very clear, and he's pursued this goal of strengthening the role of the party throughout China. So I think he used the phrase east-west, north-south, the party rules it all. And all of this really signals a new era where the party has far more control over the economy writ large, but also particularly over private business.
So
like if you're on CNBC, automatically any kind of fucking infringement, on, free commerce, whatever you want to call that, is going to be automatically seen as a negative. But if you do not have that ideological gearing, if you do not have that ideological motivation to defend capitalism tooth and nail, like many of us don't in here, you look to that and you go, I don't really understand what the fucking big deal is. Like, no matter how much they try to use spicy language to be like, wow, they're interfering with commerce. Like, well, what about the free markets? Like, they're infringing on the free markets, while simultaneously talking about how, like, the Chinese investment fund is literally the reason why some of these fucking companies exist. It's like, I don't know. I'm not hearing the argument that you're making, or the argument that you want me to fucking hear.
The question of, should private investors be, fearful of Xi Jinping? I think everyone right now is holding their breath. It's really hard to overstate the degree to which market confidence was affected by the policy developments over the past couple of years. China sometimes disappears its billionaires to send a message to industry. It might be a signal that something is coming, whether that's another industry rectification campaign or a tightening in a certain regulatory space.
On March 10th, Xi Jinping started his historic third term as China's president. Since the president's term limits were lifted in 2018, Xi is basically president for life. His primary focus right now is to strengthen the slowing Chinese economy, the second largest in the world. Beijing's strict zero-COVID policy.
Crushley with a great question. Why these white-collar criminals go missing, but Assange and Chelsea Manning were arrested? Why does the Anglosphere press never call the people in Guantanamo disappeared? Crushley, normally a fucking troll, but very good question here. You know what I mean? This is just frothing over nothing. Chinese government has classified data and information as a resource of national importance like oil and steel. Oil and steel already under heavy state control. And now it's turned for the tech companies. It's not even that deep, to be honest. Yeah, they're enforcing regulatory control over an industry that is ballooned in China just like it fucking ballooned in America. Americans constantly complain about big tech and disrupting big tech monopolies. But of course that never happens, right? It never happens in America. But when it happens in China, they're like, dude, what the fuck? Whoa, chill. Yeah, we just let it Let them do whatever the fuck they want. And then you get a 35-cent class action lawsuit award. I used to be your weirdest chatter. I am demoted to troll now. Sag? Yes. This is wrong. He's not president for life. They're elected him for another term. Plus, FDR served 3 terms. No one cried, but the fascists did. Okay, Alizi, we get it. You love Xi Jinping. Oh, my God.
Policy choked the country's financial health, slumping its economic growth to 3% in 2022 from 8.1% back in 2021. It was the second slowest year for growth since 1976. In 2020, the growth fell to 2.4%.
Well, I think China's had a very rough 3 years. During the pandemic, the economy has been doing very badly. I think there's an awareness at the top of the Chinese Communist Party. They need private investors. They need foreign investors to try to rebuild the tattered Chinese economy. But I do think that
I think the real issue for China is that, I guess it's not even a real issue, but I guess one of the issues is that they have, I guess, too much growth and prosperity that like, they are no longer, they might no longer be seen as the manufacturing hub. Prosperity, Raffle, bro. Oh my God. You could just say anything about China and people will just believe it. No, dude, they're eating rats in China, every city. Shenzhen is like, when you go there, people are on the streets begging. They're like, we're so poor. Please, I will work for pennies. Oh, Mr. America Man, do you have blue jeans? Can I eat them? That's what they're saying on the fucking streets. Ooh, I love rats, please. That's what they're saying. Big American man, give me rat, please. I'm starving. Okay, is that good? Is that what you want to hear? China is going through its like 80s and 90s American economy phase right now with a robust middle class. The issue is that when you develop economically to that degree, you have to maintain your control over manufacturing. It gets a little bit harder to justify low wages when people are like, well, you know, we're making a lot. So they will inevitably outsource their manufacturing to other countries that are poorer. I guess if there's one country though that could maintain its manufacturing hub, it would be a country like China that has a tremendous amount of control over its economy. Just kidding. I'm not even talking about China. I was actually talking about Germany. Guess what? The industrial engine that powers the entirety of the European Union is a country that has been able to maintain its manufacturing capabilities without outsourcing it. And guess what? They did a decent job with that. Okay? So we'll see how China does.
this is unlikely to be a long-term trend. This market-friendly attitude, I think, is happening because China needs to be market-friendly right now. I do think longer term, it's much more likely we will see a reimposition of stronger political control by the Chinese Communist Party, and that's bound to be bad for business, both foreign and entrepreneurs.
This idea that private and foreign investors aren't exactly sure.
Yep, they've been smart about it from the get-go. Never allowed Western tech companies to operate in China, which was out of line because they allowed a lot of foreign companies to come in and bring modern tech, but they built up tech industry within the country. Also, this kind of control over capital and billionaires is actually popular amongst the people in China. Yet, no fucking human being, regardless of what fucking planet, what side of the planet they live on, is going to be like, wow, you're controlling commerce and billionaires and their actions? How fucked up? Literally go ask any American, okay? Unless they are the crypto entrepreneurs that have like crypto coins that think they're going to, go to the moon, or they're like fucking Elon Musk Twitter Blue subscribers, they are probably going to have the exact same attitude. Like, yeah, fucking, what do you mean? Yeah, punish billionaires, please. Thank you. That seems great to me. Is China even socialist? If it seems like they're state capitalists, because as I understand, the workers don't control the means of production and are still exploited by the wealthy, it's just China. It's just with China, the state has more control over its wealthy. Yes, with China, it is considered to be a transitional socialist state, okay? Socialism with Chinese characteristics. Socialism with Chinese characteristics that pertain to the current material conditions or the material conditions in China at the time and contemporary material conditions now. That's it. Anyway. All right, what the fuck? Not that good over here, but yeah, they are trying.
What's coming down the line. And that's really going to cast a shadow over China's economic prospects, not just in 2023, but perhaps the rest of the 2020s as well.
Xi Jinping clearly intends to stay around for a very long time. He sees himself as the uncontested ruler of China. Anyone who challenges his power or the party's power is going to be in his crosshairs. And unfortunately, that's what a number of private entrepreneurs have experienced recently, as we've seen with the disappearance of Baofan and others.
I think this trend is going to continue. The Chinese Communist Party overall is going to be more and more repressive over the Chinese society, and Xi Jinping is going to have more and more power within the Chinese Communist Party.
The series of disappearances of high-profile billionaires in China is really a stark reminder that this is a fundamentally different political system and that rule of law, despite the fact that the Chinese government regularly says it has established, though, in China, just really means something different there.
You would be disappeared so fast. Yeah, I mean, listen, I like I like certain aspects of social libertarianism, okay? And I don't mean age of consent when I say that. I'm talking about fucking free speech. Okay? I'm talking about civil liberties for marginalized communities. I'm talking about free speech. Yeah. And not in the way that like we understand it here in America. I just mean like not getting fucking punished by the government for saying things about the government.